Hi, this is Daniel DiTuro. Chicken pie is almost a meal in itself, but many prepared versions can be high in calories and provide up to a day's worth of sodium. I'm starting with about 2 pounds of cut raw chicken. You can substitute cooked chicken. I'm adding about 12 ounces of cooked turkey. You can use any combination of chicken or turkey for this recipe. I have about 1 cup of frozen peas and about 4 medium mushrooms cleaned and sliced, 2 carrots cut into bite-sized pieces, and 1 medium onion diced, 2 tablespoons of olive oil or butter, about 1 cup of low-sodium chicken broth, and 1/2 cup of dry white wine. You can substitute broth or water for the wine. The seasoning includes 1/4 teaspoon of dried parsley flakes, 1/4 teaspoon of dried chopped chives, 1/4 teaspoon of dry mustard, 1/4 teaspoon of garlic powder, 1/4 teaspoon of dried thyme, 1/4 teaspoon of ground white pepper, 1/4 teaspoon of ground black pepper, 1 bay leaf, and 2 tablespoons of Parmesan or Romano cheese, 1/2 cup Greek yogurt or sour cream, 4 teaspoons of cornstarch, and 2 tablespoons of cold water, 1 can of reduced sodium cream of mushroom soup, and 1/2 cup each of shredded Swiss or Monterey Jack cheese and sharp or mild cheddar cheese. For a double crust pie, you'll need 3 cups of flour, about 1/2 cup of vegetable shortening, 10 tablespoons of cold butter diced, and about 10 tablespoons of ice water. Add the butter and shortening to the flour, and then use a pastry blender to cut in the fat until the mixture resembles coarse meal. A food processor or 2 knives with a scissor action can also be used to cut in the fat. Add the ice water to the mixture, using a fork, spoon, or knife to toss it to dampen most of the flour. Use your hand to mix the dough until it comes together and forms a ball. Divide the dough in 2 so that the piece for the bottom crust is slightly larger than the top crust. Wrap each piece in plastic wrap and refrigerate at least 1 hour. You can use a lightly floured surface or parchment paper to roll out the dough. If you refrigerated the dough more than an hour, allow up to an hour for it to come up to a temperature where it's soft enough to roll out. I'm using a sheet of parchment paper to reduce cleanup and make it easier to transfer the dough to the baking dish. You'll need a 2.5 to 3-quart baking dish. It can be shallow or deep. Transfer the dough to the baking dish and remove the paper if used. Shape the dough to fit the baking dish and trim off any excess. To create a fluted edge, use the index finger of one hand and your thumb and index finger of the other hand. If this is your first pie crust, don't worry about the fluting being perfect. Cover the pan with plastic wrap and refrigerate until ready to fill. For a lattice crust, roll out the second piece of dough and then use a sharp knife or pizza cutter to cut the dough into strips. The length of the strips will depend on the size of your pan. Cut the strips about 2 inches longer than the size of your pan. You can always trim off the excess. Cover a baking dish with parchment or wax paper and arrange the short strips so they'll fit the size of your pan. Fold over every other strip and then arrange the first long strip. Unfold the strip over the dough and fold back the next strip. Repeat this procedure with the remaining long strips until the lattice structure is completed. At this stage, you can cover the lattice with plastic wrap and freeze to make it easier to transfer to the pie. Preheat your oven to 400 degrees Fahrenheit. Melt the butter or heat the oil in a large skillet over medium heat. Add the onions and raw poultry and saute about 5 minutes. If you're using cooked poultry, add it after sauteing the onions. Stir in the cooked poultry followed by the spice mixture, omitting the Parmesan or Romano cheese at this time. Add the mushrooms, carrots, peas, broth, and wine. Cover, reduce heat to low, and simmer about 10 minutes. Add the yogurt or sour cream and canned soup and stir to thoroughly combine. Mix the cornstarch with the cold water until thoroughly blended and add it to the pan. Cook 1 to 2 minutes on low heat until the mixture thickens. Turn off the heat and stir in the cheeses. Spoon the filling into the prepared baking dish. Top with the lattice crust. The heat from the filling will thaw the crust. Moisten the bottom crust with water if necessary, pinch the crust to seal, and trim off any excess dough. Bake 30 to 40 minutes or until the crust is lightly browned. A 12-ounce serving of chicken pie has about 600 calories, 500 milligrams of sodium, and 3 grams of fiber. Thank you for watching.